So tonight what I wanted to discuss in the Facebook Live video is it's way colder outside right now, but I know that, you know, you get into a month like this, we do start to think forward. Is this something that is short term? We're going to see some hot, some cool during the month. What does this mean though long term? Are we talking about a cool June? Are we talking about a hot June? So I thought in a Facebook Live video, something that we can discuss in a little more detail and something that you normally don't get to discuss on TV. I thought it would make a good video tonight to discuss June outlook. Where are we going for the rest of the month? Warmer, cooler? Those that are looking for some pool weather and pool time, are we going to be able to make that transition more towards the warmer? And I think you know that there is some heat in the short term, but I really want to discuss more rest of the month. We got about 23 days left in the month. And will they turn warmer or not? So that's going to be the topic of tonight's Facebook Live video. As always, guys, we aim for 1,000 shares. I think on a night, really on summer when the weather goes quiet, it can become considerably more difficult to get our numbers up there. But let me ask you guys first, before we jump into this, thumbs up, thumbs down. Can we make it up to 1,000 shares tonight? It'll take 10 shares per person-ish. You will annoy your Facebook friends at some point. I thought the greatest picture I'd ever seen the other day is somebody sent me on a copy from their Facebook page where it said, I think your page has been hacked because all I see is this guy's post on there, and it was mine because they had shared it a bunch of times. So can we make it to 1,000 tonight? Thumbs up, yes. Thumbs down, no. If you guys say we can, I believe you, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I'll be contributing quickly to those shares. We're just getting some thumbs ups there. People saying, yeah, they think we can make it. Are you guys willing to share it that many times? More shares or thumbs up flying across the screen. All right, it looks like you guys think we can make it there. So it's going to take over 10 shares per person. It's not going to be easy. And yeah, everybody's saying we can make it to 1,000. Tomorrow I may not do a video, and Friday I probably won't, only because when the weather's just quiet, it's more difficult to get traction with your Facebook Live video, and for you it puts a lot of pressure on you guys to individually all be sharing like crazy peeps. So I will say we'll probably relax it back a little bit later this week, but with that, I thought it would make a good Facebook Live video discussion here tonight, talking about what we're going to expect for the rest of June. So I'm going to share this twice. Forgive me if it takes me a little bit of time, but as I say on a regular basis, Facebook, for whatever reason, on my desktop is the slowest ever. So it tends to take me a little while. Sometimes I have to try 2 or 3 times to actually get it to share. All right, one share from me, success. Over to WDRB News. Let me give you guys one more share from me to WDRB Weather, so I will contribute to trying to get to 1,000 for the 81st consecutive time, which if you're thinking that's a lot, you're totally right. We're getting into crazy stuff here. We're approaching quickly the mythical 100 nights in a row with above 1,000 shares. So, all right, it is shared on WDRB News. It's shared on WDRB Weather. Please, you guys, I need about 10 shares per person. Let's share this thing a lot early so that at the end of the video we can just kind of chat, ask questions. We don't have to go through me saying share, so we can kind of relax a little bit. So when you get into a discussion like this, there's a couple things I like to remind you. When you look at medium and long range data, what's really, really important is to take what we call an ensemble approach. What? Ensembles are computer models with different variations within the model. You can have different physics, different kind of things that give you different variants. Why does that help? Well, it doesn't help in the individual part of doing it, but what does help is when you average those. So when you average all these variants together, variations, you come up with what we call an ensemble. And the reason that's better is because it's an average of a lot of different iterations of the model. So we're going to look at the GFS ensemble, and we're going to look at the European ensemble. Before we do that, what we want to look at is where are we currently. You guys know that it is chilly outside. right now, but where do we stand currently on the month? So let's actually take a look at the statistical numbers so far for the month. And you can see there's actually a number of warm days. So what has this meant thus far? Our average monthly temperature so far for the month of June is 74.4, or 1.9 degrees above normal. But, you know, if I was to point out one thing that's important to note here, it's this one, our rainfall. We are already a ½ inch below normal for the month. That's a pretty big deal. We have only seen in Louisville 0.29 inches of rain. That is really bad. So the fact that we're running abnormally dry in an early month that doesn't have an El Nino, we're not showing any strong statistical pushes one way or the other with any of the atmospheric oscillations we use. The drought one is going to be a really important one as we look forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at the European ensemble computer model. And what I want you to note when you look at something like this is what's really important is you need to look at where there's ridges of high pressure, like here in the central parts of the U.S., and where we have dips in the jet stream, like in the eastern part of the U.S. that's occurring right now. Where the dip is over our area, we know that it's colder than normal. So as we look forward at this, we're really going to look at the jet stream to see where these dips and these ridges exist. So we go 24 hours into the future, and you can see the dip that is over our area is still there, and that continues actually until late tomorrow. As we move towards Friday, the dip's starting to leave, and what you can see is it's quickly being replaced by an enormous area of high pressure controlling the eastern part of the U.S. And we know that when we have big domes of high pressure over us, that things are going to be warm. And this is in the short term, that heat that's going to be building in as we look towards early next week. You can see by Wednesday of next week, the high pressure controlling, but it's starting to break down a little. I will tell you that when you have dry conditions, many times the computer models break down these domes of high pressure too quickly. So that is just something worth noting. But you'll also notice that this dip, then this is looking at later next week, never really builds into the Ohio Valley. And you see just subtle dip in the eastern or in the central part of the U.S., but nothing that really looks very strong, very significant. Really anywhere across the country, there's just really no big dips or big ridges of high pressure. And within the European computer model, what I would like to now do is see what that means for temperatures. And you can see the big abnormally cold in the current. That's what's over our area right now. You all know it is chilly outside. Stays in our area on Thursday. Friday, it's starting to move away, and you can see on Saturday we're back to near normal. And once you pass Saturday within the European computer model, you can see this is Monday of next week, Tuesday of next week, Wednesday of next week, warmer than normal. Thursday of next week, warmer than normal. Friday of next week, warmer than normal. Saturday of next week, warmer than normal. And then the Euro starts to drag in slightly cooler than normal as we look into the second and later part of June. My opinion with respect to this is it's subtle, and in a dry pattern, I believe that we would probably bias a little bit more towards warm. And when you look at the 7-day blocks within the European computer model, you'll notice that it shows the colder than normal over us now, which is quickly replaced with warmer than normal in the middle of June. In the later part of June, the European weeklies shows warmer than normal, continuing, and this is really showing a statistical correlation or a push towards warmer than normal in the later part of June. There is a little bit of a bias along the Gulf Coast for colder than normal, but my feeling is that's probably related to tropical moisture that's going to reside in the southeast, which for drought is pretty good. They've got some real drought problems. Let's do the same exercise, though, with the GFS computer model. Looking at the ensembles, does it line up with this concept that's showing up within the European computer model for a warmer than normal June? You can see the colder than normal, this dip in the jet stream over us continuing through Friday, Saturday. Here's Friday with that dip still controlling, but you can see we quickly turn that around by Saturday, and the GFS is showing a mammoth high pressure residing over the Ohio Valley as we look towards the later part of this week into early next week, continuing to show up. We also see that disturbance trying to cut into the ridge by Wednesday of next week. The GFS is not as sold on this low busting into that high, and I would actually trend more that way. The GFS is also showing what we call more zonal flow in the middle part of the month. And then as we start to approach the later part of the month, it shows just generally zonal with some slight ridging across the U.S. Bottom line is the GFS and the Euro don't really bias heavily towards warmer or colder than normal. And when we look at the temperature trend, this is the colder than normal over our area right now. The GFS shows that continuing through Friday. By Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whoa, color table issue there. You can see it explodes towards warm. As we look into the early part of next week, solid signal towards warm. And you can see as we start to go into the middle part of June, the bias is slightly towards warm. And I apologize, I don't know what's up with the color tables. But you can see there's clearly a bias across much of North America towards warm as we look into the middle, later parts of the month. The GFS shows a really, really distinct signal for the later part of June that's going to be warmer than normal. So what does this mean as we look at the Climate Prediction Center? And their forecast for the month of June is, wait a minute. Their forecast is for colder than normal. In fact, they've got a 40% chance of a colder than normal June. That's their forecast. Go figure. A forecast out there that I don't agree with, but that doesn't happen all the time. I know that you guys are probably shocked that I disagree with another forecast, but so I don't think that's right. I think a 40% chance of below normal in the month of June is not going to verify. I'm actually shocked that they put such a high probability. My opinion would be near or likely above normal temperatures for the remainder of June. It doesn't mean that we're not going to see some cooler, because as stated, it's going to stay cooler than normal for the next 2 days and then start to go back above normal by the weekend. But honestly, I would tell you that the reason I would bias towards warmer than normal is there is dry conditions over the Ohio Valley, and while there are distinct signals that we will mitigate that over the southeast, Louisville, being the heat island that it is and showing an unbelievable tendency towards warmer than normal, to me, means that it is, even if the pattern is near normal temperatures, Louisville as a city will bias above normal because we have a massive heat island. So it is very difficult to get the official number below normal. And my opinion is, if we're to look at that, in the rest of the month of June as a whole, I would think that it's going to be a warmer than normal month. So those that enjoy pool time, rejoice, because I think you're going to get your fair share of pool time this month with temperatures that are going to probably, in my opinion, be warmer than normal. So that's kind of my thinking. I know every time we do a Facebook Live video, we always have lots of questions, and I want to open this thing up towards questions. I will tell you guys as well, our goal is to get to 1,000 shares. It is difficult to get to 1,000 shares in the summertime because there's obviously not as many people. And I know what that means is it puts more pressure on you guys. So I'd like to get to 1,000. You guys think we can make it? We're at 323. To make it over 1,000 shares requires 10 shares from everybody in here. 10 additional shares from everybody in here. So I need you guys to step on the gas. We've got about 15 minutes left on our video to make it. And let me open it up to questions now. You guys share away. After you share more than 10 times, comment down below so I can give you guys a shout out. And I'd like to open it now up to questions. Tina saying Louisville has no normal. You know, there is some truth to that. I feel like a lot of times we dance on either way warmer than normal or way cooler. I really feel like many times we don't really get to enjoy normal. Somebody asked temperatures. Somebody asked temperatures right now. What are we at? We're officially right now at 67, so it's cool outside. Tanya with a share. Thank you, Tanya. Brett saying he's got some Ferragamo sandals. I actually have a Ferragamo belt on right now. Questions? Any questions coming in tonight? Actually, comments. Just want to ask weather stuff. Rebecca saying hello from Santa Claus, Indiana. I will actually be in your area in the next couple of days. My plan is if I can get some quiet weather, I'm off next week for a few days finally. I'm going to actually make a trip out to Holiday World, so I'll actually be out in your general area. I love Holiday World. I'm 42 years old, but truth be told is I am still a very large child. So I enjoy doing kid things still, so I'll be out there next week. 5 shares from Crystal, thank you. Tina saying she shared so many times that she lost count. I appreciate that. Thank you, Tina. Deb Cook is saying, what does CPC use to make their forecast? So CPC uses the same thing that we all would use, and that is everything that's available to us. Now, what CPC does many times is they will compare statistically the weather pattern that they're expecting for the month of June and what that statistically has meant in the past. What I find is in absence of El Nino or La Nina in the Ohio Valley, what I find is that drought can play a very big role. Southern Kentucky is nowhere near drought. With that said, Louisville has had a dry spell here. And if we're just to speak specifically about what's going to be the official reading out of Stanford Field, I feel that it's very likely that we are going to actually be above normal. But the reason that CPC, in my opinion, probably had a colder than normal month is because early in the month the data had showed a persistent dip in the eastern part of the U.S., but that's just not verifying for long term. Sean's asking how cold tonight. I actually think a couple can make it into the 40s tonight. Yeah, some chilly stuff potentially tonight. Amanda with a love. Thank you, Amanda. Odin's saying, I seem like a man of class. Do I own any classic cars? I do not. 10 shares from Tina. Thank you. Chris throwing out his 7 shares. Chris, we got some work tonight. We got to get to 1,000 shares. We got 70 people in here, so it means that we're going to need some more effort. I know you guys are sharing away. I'm going to require basically you guys to annoy your Facebook friends. I actually, like I said, somebody earlier this week sent me a message that says that somebody thought that their Facebook page has been hacked because they had shared my post so many times, and that made me happy. Tina saying, Burr, yeah, actually tonight's going to be kind of cool. Luann with a hello. Hope you're having a good night, Luann. Caleb saying he's obsessed with the heat island. Louisville's heat island is bad. It is bad. And I feel like it was a massive error to put our official site in the airport around basically the hottest part of the city. I feel like it's not representative of what people actually see. It's not a good representation of what people actually see in Louisville. So Stanford is probably the single worst choice on where to put an official temperature because our city, we've got a major problem. I've been asked before, and I'll tell you guys, the answer as to why Louisville has warmed at a rate faster than any other city in the United States over the last 40 years is because we've deforested Louisville. What we have done is we've replaced a lot of lush green with neighborhoods that didn't replace the trees. And in that deforestation, our city's temperatures have gone up incredibly fast. So if we're to combat this, what do? We plant trees. And I would be fully and 100% supportive of any initiative in this city to plant more trees. It is very, very, very important that we get some of those trees back so we can take back some of the heat island that is Louisville. It's a problem. It really, really is. Chris with another 7 shares. Thank you. After you guys give me the 10 shares, comment down below so I can give you a shout out. Caleb's saying, awesome to watch thunderstorms develop on radar. So Caleb, I would tell you that use caution in that. As thunderstorms approach Louisville, you have to remember your radar having a half a degree elevation means that you're looking up. And as the storm gets closer, you're looking closer to the ground. So specifically in pulse-style summer thunderstorms that don't have elevated cores, they're going to always appear to get more intense as they go towards Louisville because you're looking at the low end of the storm. So I would urge caution in drawing a conclusion that the storms are more intense in Louisville, because in my opinion they're not. I actually find it rather frustrating that Louisville gets warned more when there's similar storms than other areas, and part of the reason is there's more people in Louisville. So what happens is, can you know, from a perspective of the person warning, can they verify warnings in Louisville? Yeah. I would argue that every single thunderstorm that goes through Louisville will down a tree. And I would argue there would be 0 exceptions, every single one. So what does that mean? Does that mean that every storm that goes through Louisville is severe? No. But it means that if you issue a severe thunderstorm warning, the likelihood of you being able to verify it in Louisville is extremely high. And I was at an AMS conference here a couple years ago, and I asked point blank a National Weather Service person, I said, are you guys more likely to issue warnings when the storms are inside of cities because there's more people and you have a higher likelihood of verifying? And I got to say, to his credit, he was candid and honest with me and said, yes, we are more likely because we can verify those warnings. And on the flip side, if we don't issue a warning and a tree goes down, then it goes against us. So, you know, the truth is that Louisville is going to get more warnings. If you have this same storm in a county that's a rural county or the same storm in Louisville, are they going to get warned equally each time? And the answer is just simply no. It's not going to happen. You're going to get warned a lot more in Louisville because a tree will go down virtually any time there's storms. My problem with that is that you raise the false alarm rate for the average person through the roof. So the storms that came through Louisville the other day, did it down some trees? Yes. But you could argue that there was nothing that met severe criteria, 58 mile an hour or higher winds. And so when the vast majority of the county doesn't see severe and they go under a severe thunderstorm warning, what happens is over time people are like, you know what, I just got a warning last week, it didn't do anything. And a warning the week before and it didn't do anything. And when they issue warnings, they say that expect damage to the side of your house, and if there's hail, they say expect damage to your roof and to siding, and you're probably like, I didn't see that damage to the roof of my house, and I didn't see any damage to the siding of my house. And anytime a warning is issued, I'm told to expect damage, and I don't see any damage. So there's some problems with how we warn and how we warn with impacts on storms. And what I feel has happened is, many years ago we didn't put impacts in the warnings, and now we put you should expect damage. Problem is that most people don't get damage during severe thunderstorms, even if they are severe. So I feel like we need to find a happy middle ground where we shouldn't tell everybody within the warning to expect damage. I think we could say maybe some isolated areas could see, or things like that. I feel like we're in a real problem with overwarning and the boy who cried wolf kind of thing. So, you know, I'm not going to pretend that my opinion is the right opinion. It's just what I think. I tell everybody that everybody is totally free to believe what they want, and, you know, that's the truth. And I also would expect and hope that people would respect my right to have an opinion on things. So, you know, bottom line is we live in a world where everybody can have an opinion. So, somebody asked if we made it to the share goal yet. We're at 643. All right. So let's talk about what's riding on this. We've made it to 1,000 shares 80 nights in a row. To make it to 81, we need another 350 shares. If we don't, our streak starts over again, and it's going to take about another 5 months to get where we are right now. I don't want to wait another 5 months. So what we need is for you guys to share like crazy. We got 5 minutes left. You guys are going to need to share like crazy, or we will not make it. Jonathan's saying he thinks my opinion is correct. Jonathan, I appreciate that, and I would encourage everybody to express your opinion to me, National Weather Service Storms Prediction Center. Tell people what you think. If you think we're being overwarned, tell people. If you think we're being underwarned, tell people. Because when you guys don't express your opinion, it's only a couple of people making the decisions, and it is important that you guys are a part of this process. Mike Welling asked, what impact does Ohio have? So I assume talking about the Ohio River on storms. What impact does it have on storms? That much. The Ohio River has no impact whatsoever. So let's cite examples. 1974, the F5 tornado that hit Brandenburg didn't care about the Ohio River. It crossed over the river and continued to do catastrophic damage. March 2nd, that tornado crossed the Ohio River. It did weaken on the other side, but crossed it without problem and then just regenerated another tornado. There are many different scenarios. You remember the Brownsboro Road tornado. That storm crossed the river without any problem, produced a tornado. Utica came across the river, produced a tornado in Brownsboro. The Bullitt County tornado, a very famous tornado in the mid-90s, started in Floyd County, crossed the Ohio River without any problem, and eventually produced a monster tornado. So I would urge caution. A lot of people have this folklore that the Ohio River can stop or weaken storms, but what we know is that that is simply not true. Linda's asking about North Florida. So North Florida, I will tell you, you're talking about potential for a ton of rain. And just general Florida in general is going to see tons. Over the next 7 days, South Florida will just do really strong work on the drought that's down there, and I want to actually show you. Here's just WPC's 7-day rainfall totals for Florida, and you can see outside of the Panhandle, you're talking about the areas that are under significant drought getting monstrous relief with 2 to 5 inches of rain possibly. I mean, we're talking about huge rainfall for Florida. Just north of Lake Okeechobee, there is significant drought, and this will place a major dent in that. Madonna saying, completely agree. I live in Bardstown and was part of the bad storms that came through that had hail. Watched them, took shelter when I saw it get really bad. I appreciate that. Caleb's made a really good point that many people thought that on March 2nd that mountains would protect West Liberty, and what we saw is a monster EF3 tornado. We saw that tornado on the ground for a ridiculous length of time, and that just proves mountains don't protect you either. There's a infamous example in 1993 in Massachusetts. There was an F4 tornado that hit Great Barrington. It came down the side of a mountain and leveled the town. How do I know about this? I actually lived in the area at the time, and I went and surveyed afterwards, and you could literally see where it tore everything off the side of a mountain as it came down the side. So, interesting stuff. Jeremiah is asking about heat for the summer. My opinion is, based on what I have seen thus far, I would bet on a warmer than normal summer. That would be my opinion, and below normal temperatures would also be my opinion. Let me update you on the shares because we are now in our critical time. We're down to 2 to 3 minutes left on our video. If we are going to make it to our share goal tonight, it's going to take work from you guys. 88 people in here. We're sitting at 840 shares, guys. You got 2 minutes left. You need to share 5, 10, 15, 20 times, and we will make it. While you are sharing like a crazy person, let me tell you what I'm going to be discussing on WDRB News at 10. 10 o'clock, top of the hour. I think some of us could see 40s tonight. No, you actually heard me correct. I think some 40s are on the table tonight. Who's most likely to see that? Chilly during the overnight hours tonight. WDRB News at 10:22. We're going to start a warm trend towards the later part of the week. If you recall yesterday, I did have a rain chance on Friday. I've made some adjustments to that late week forecast that I'm going to talk about. I do think that we'll see a trend towards warmer, but I don't think it's going to take hold just yet. So we'll talk about 80s for the later part of the work week. And then on WDRB News at 10:22, how does 92 degrees with a heat index near 95 sound? It sounds pretty nasty, doesn't it? That's your extended. When to expect heat index values near 95 on WDRB News at 10:37. So set your clock to watch on WDRB News at 10, 10:22, and 10:37. Remember, guys, I tell you every time, every night when I'm going to be on because I know life's busy. I know you're probably going to be running around doing things, and it gives you the ability to get things done, flip onto the news, when I come on 10:22 and 10:27, and you guys can support me on TV as well. Social media is important. TV is critically important as well. We've got about another minute left on our video. We're in the 900 range. If we're going to make it over our share goal, we need some work from you guys. Remember, you can like, you can share, even after the video ends, so you can still bump the number up at the end. The reason that's important is sometimes Facebook polling can be a little bit off. All right, I need 50 shares in a minute if we're going to make it. It means you guys got to share a bunch of times still to get us over. 26 shares from Crystal. By the way, after you share over 10, comment down below so I can give you a shout out. Crystal, thank you. Tony's saying bring on the heat. Tony, it'll be very much pool weather in the extended. It's going to get a lot warmer, which we will talk about. I will update you on the shares quickly. We are at 9:52 with about 30 seconds left on the video. Like and a share from Madonna. We may actually fall short and end our streak tonight. I wanted to make it to 81 in a row tonight. 15 shares from Missy. Missy's saying we're not going to come short of the share goal. Mike's throwing down the gauntlet. Josh put out 100 shares. That should help. We are at 987. Almost there with a couple of seconds left on the video. Dylan with a share. Thank you, Dylan. Jonathan throwing out a bunch of shares. Jonathan, you're going to anger your Facebook friends with 80 shares, but I appreciate that. Let me tell you, lastly, the last update. This will tell us if we made it. Caleb with 3 shares, and Caleb's not a normal sharer. Caleb, I'm going to get on you about that when I see you, if I see you at the College World Series. So this is the last one. Let's see. We made it. 1,051 shares. 81 in a row above 1,000 shares. Likes and loves to you guys for doing that. That's actually pretty awesome. 81. Within the next 3 weeks, we're going to try to make it run at 100 nights in a row above 1,000 shares. We continue to knock out the metrics on social media. I appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. Another night in a row with above 1,000 shares. I'm going to rest my voice here a little bit. I want to quickly mention Corey Byers is saying a June 17th wedding. Corey, send me an email in 3 days. Once we get to the 10th, I'll start to give you more info on that because I'd like to get within 7. But I would like you to email me. That way I can stay in contact with you and give you updates every single day. I know outdoor weddings can be stressful, and I want to make sure that you know. So mweinberg@wdrb.com. Guys, thank you for all the shares tonight. I'm going to rest my voice real quickly, and I will see you guys on WDRB News at 10, 10:22, and 10:37. Continue to like and share. 81 nights in a row, guys. See you at 10.